I have always been fascinated with wire trees. You know, the ones where you take strands of wire and twist them together into a trunk of a tree and make all the branches look like they're blowing in the wind? Yeah, those. Well, I wanted one. And I didn't want a small one that was just gonna sit on a shelf or on the corner of a desk. No, if I was gonna make one of these wire trees, I wanted it big enough to sit outside next to my butterfly garden. Now, being somewhat creative, I kind of had an idea of how to make one of these wire trees. But to be on the safe side, I went looking on YouTube for a tutorial. And I just happened to stumble across Bobby Duke's channel and his video of how he made one. Now, if you've never heard of Bobby Duke, I can tell you that he is a very inspiring and pretty hilarious content creator here on YouTube.
You can see all the wires up under there. These will be the roots. By the way, I have no idea what I'm doing.
And I want to give him all the credit for his inspiration and his tutorial. A link to his video will be in the description. So hello and welcome to Tears of Joy Creative. My name is Holly and today I'm going to show you how I made this wire tree. Now, like any smart creative person would do, I gave myself a handicap right from the very beginning and used a 17 gauge wire for this project. Like I said, I don't want this to be a small wire tree. I want it to be about 2 feet tall at least, and why I'm using a heavy wire. It needs to be extra sturdy since this will sit outside wrapped around a big rock next to my butterfly garden. Now, instead of trying to cut the same piece of wire one by one 200 times, this big pot was just the right size in circumference. I just have to wrap the wire around and around and around. Now, before I cut all the wires, I wrapped a piece around the whole bunch so they would stay together since this wire has a mind of its own. And once I cut the wire off the pot, I had about 185 strands of wire. Now that all the wires are cut, I started to separate the bottom part into a few sections. This will become the root system of the tree that will wrap around that big rock that you see sitting on the table. And to make the roots, you just keep dividing each section into smaller sections and just keep twisting them around. Since the wire is very, very stiff, I had a lot of trouble twisting these first sections around, and I was really wondering how I was going to twist the main trunk of the tree once I got these roots done. Now, once that part was all done, I had to figure out how I was going to get the wire to wrap tightly around the rock, because they didn't want to stay down as I bent them. It was then I realized that after I had spent all that time separating the sections into a nice network of roots, that I didn't really need to do all of that. Because in order for the wire to stay wrapped tightly around the rock, I had to twist them all together underneath. I have my wonderful handyman of a husband to thank for coming up with this solution, so we could twist the main trunk of the tree. This allowed us to twist the tree several times, and then we could flip the tree upside down and twist it even more. I then split the wires into 2 main sections. Here is where my wire tree really came to life as I made all the branches. I did that by separating the 2 main sections into smaller ones and twisting them around a few times, and then just kept repeating the process to create all the branches and left the ends untwisted about 3 inches long. I really enjoyed this part of making the wire tree because I could really get creative, and I wanted this to look like a real tree that was growing out in nature. Next, I curled all of the ends of the branches into a little hook so that I could hang strands of crystal beads on them. My favorite time of the year is fall, and I wanted my tree to reflect the fall season. You know, when all the leaves have turned colors. So I'm using lots of different shades of red, orange, and yellow beads in my strands. I'm also going to spray paint the entire tree a dark brown. But first, I've got to curl all these ends. The more I make videos of my projects, the more I learn that I have a long way to go in the whole content creator process. Sadly, I did not film myself making any of these bead strands or remember to hold the camera horizontal when I put them on the tree. In total, I made 187 of them. From start to finish, I will have to say I enjoyed every single part of making this wire tree, even though I made some mistakes along the way. I hope in some way this video has inspired you to do a project like this, or to take on a project that you've been wanting to do, but you just aren't sure how to go about it. Always remember to be creative and to not be afraid of the mistakes that you might make along the way. And if you've enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more creative content is on the way.